Let me show you how to design a poster with one photo using Photoshop. We're going to start off with a brand new canvas. It's going to be 24 by 36 inches, so make sure you're set to inches. 24, 36, and then 300 DPI. This is going to be a nice big poster that we can always size down, but we're going to use just a few tools as well. So we've got our move tool. We're also going to be using our marquee tool. Of course, these are basics. The selection tool, so magic wand or object selection is going to be a good one. Subject select. We're also going to be pulling in the gradient tool here, but in a way that you might not realize you can use it. We're going to be using our pen tool to create some shapes. And then, of course, a few other shape layers will come into play as well. But the first thing we need to start with is a photo. And this is a one photo poster. Yes, you heard that right. We're just using one photo. And of course, this being the Photoshop garage, we're going to be using a photo of a car of the new Genesis concept. I'm going to get this sized to the size that I want it to be. And then we'll be able to start working on our poster. This looks about right. I'm going to get it in the position that I want it, and then make sure that this is selected. And then you simply click Select Subject, and Photoshop will work its magic. It's going to create a selection. We're going to hit the Layer Mask button, and it's going to isolate that subject. And so again, whether this is a car or whatever, now we're going to duplicate this. So Command or Control J, and that's going to create a duplicate of this layer in exactly the same spot. And this is going to be our reflection. So you notice that original photo had a reflection in it, but we want to recreate this in a way that we can control it. So I'm going to rasterize this new layer, and you just got to find that at the bottom of the stack there. I'm going to actually apply the layer mask so that I don't have any other factors that are coming into play when I'm manipulating this reflection layer. And then we're simply going to go up to Edit, Transform, and flip vertically, which is going to mirror this image. Now I'm going to drag this down, line it back up with the car. And one of the keys to this is you want the bottom of the main subject to be touching the top of the reflection. Now, if your angles are off, like I have here, it's slightly off, you may have to adjust that reflection, but it's okay because that's actually going to work in your favor. It's going to make that reflection look really good. Now, with this reflection layer pretty much dialed in as far as the positioning, what we want to do is we want to now connect these together. And I know the reflection's super harsh. We're going to fix that here in a second. But I want to create a shadow here as well. A shadow is going to ground your subject. And the easiest way to do that is to create a new shape layer using your pen tool and just kind of draw in a new shadow. Now, I went a little bit far on that first anchor point. So I'm going to try this again, drop the anchor point in. And what I'm looking for is the rounded front part of my shadow should line up with the front of that splitter on the Genesis. I'm just going to draw this in. Of course, the color right now it's set to white because that was the color that I had selected. It doesn't really matter because we're going to change that. But I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the back of that also mirrors the shape of the car. And then you'll see me here covering up kind of where the wheels are. It's okay because we're going to adjust this layer. We're going to move it in the stack. But we move this layer now underneath both the main subject and the reflection layer. And you can see how it starts to add this grounding. Now we're going to duplicate this layer. So Command or Control J, or you can also drag it down to the new layer and it will create a duplicate. We're going to now flip this one. So Edit, Transform, flip horizontally, or flip vertically, excuse me. We're going to adjust the angle. We're going to move this down to now be the shadow of the reflection. And what this does is because of the angle, you would actually be able to see like the undercarriage, some of the undercarriage of the car. And as far as making this, the realism behind this is that you want to be able to dark that out in the reflection. So here we actually want that to be touching the bottom of the car. So I'm just going to grab my anchor points with my selection tool. I'm going to drag those down until they touch the reflective car. And then I'm going to drag it back up on the top so that those two shadow areas connect. Now, I missed a little part here in the front, so make sure that when you're paying attention to these angles, when you're paying attention to these shadows, that they are actually connecting all the way through. This is important. Now we just need to get our layer stack in the right order. So I'm going to move around some of these layers. I'm going to get the shadow of the main subject under the main subject, and then the reflective shadows go together. I'm going to go ahead and group those. So select both layers, hit Command or Control G, and that's going to create a group. I'm going to go ahead and name that group. Sign of a pro, name your layers so you don't get lost. And now this is where the gradient tool comes in place. I'm going to grab the gradient tool. We've added a layer mask to our group. And now I'm going to start somewhere below that reflection, start the gradient, and then just drag straight up. And it creates this amazing gradiated reflection that now is just going, it's completely editable. And this is going to just look amazing no matter what we do in the background. Now, one of the things I like to do to really make this, to really sell this reflection is on the layer mask. So select the layer mask, then select your eraser tool because we want to actually bring back some of the image. And I'm going to just bring back a little bit more of that edge and really make sure that it's fading into the edge of the main subject in a way that makes sense, that shadow is proper. And now, hey, this looks great. So now we're going to add a solid color layer. And the easy part about this is that you just go down to where your adjustment layers are, solid color, and now you've got the color picker, and we could just drag this along the body of the car to select a color that makes sense with this poster. You've got all these great oranges, yellows, these reds are kind of like this kind of orangish yellow. And yeah, let's go with that. Now, with this color now selected, we've pretty much got just a great photograph poster. One photo, kind of stylized. And, let's clean up a little bit before we go to the next step, which is that we're going to zoom into some of the details. So we've got our subject layer there, reflection layer, color layer. And the next step is that I actually want to grab my rectangle shape tool. So you'll find that right down there on your tool palette, rectangle shape. And we're going to add 3 of these. So I'm going to drop just one. It doesn't matter what color they are when we start off. But of course, we're going to duplicate these. I'm going to change it to white first. I think white's going to be my go-to color for these because it really kind of sets it off. And we're going to do something with these layers after. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate these 2 rectangles. And I'm going to offset one of them. So I'm kind of playing to the rule of thirds, a little bit of asymmetry. It creates visual interest in the poster. And so those are some things that you can kind of play with on your own version of this poster. And then I'm going to drop in our photo one more time. Same exact photo. Again, this is a 1 photo poster. But these photos are going to be important because we're going to actually look at some of the details and highlight those in those squares. And so I've got those 3 photos. I've got that 1 photo duplicated 3 times, And now I'm going to clip those down by holding down the control or the option key in between those 2 layers and clip that photo down to that white shape that I just made. And now I'm going to pick some details. So in this first square, rectangle rather, I think I want to highlight that little piece of the front fender, that front spat that says designed by Genesis. That little detail is just so awesome. So we're going to highlight that one here. I think in the second box, maybe I'll grab the wheels and then I got to figure something out for the third one. I haven't thought that far yet. But this designed by Genesis, having those words there just looks amazing. That focus on the carbon fiber with the blue line looks great. Second one, again, let's go ahead and do, let's do the wheel there. So we're going to expand this out. Just get that wheel in a place that it makes sense. Front wheel, back wheel, I think the front wheel. And what's cool about doing this kind of design on a poster is that these are all of the types of elements that people will stop and they'll look and they'll stare a little bit longer. Now for this third one, I want to do the front of the car, but it looks a little bit funny with the front end kind of facing the same way. So we're going to flip this. We're going to go up to transform, and we're going to flip horizontally. So this is going to flip it along the horizontal plane. And now we just I should be able to grab this. Oh, what am I doing here? There we go. Grabbing the wrong layer. Sorry about that. Grab this. Come on, Photoshop, work with me. There we go. Okay. So Command or Control T, I'm going to grab that, and then I'm just going to move this over in a way that makes sense. And I'm going to make this bigger, because what I'm seeing here as a design aspect is that the way these lines carry through from the fender to the front, it still works in reverse, and it makes this cool kind of this white line that carries through the entire piece in those back 3 panels. So now we've got that front, the front fascia area, we've got the wheel, we've got that side, and now I'm going to just take these all. I'm actually going to reduce the opacity on the images inside the square. So I don't want to do the entire group, because that's going to fade that in. That's going to fade it back into that orange area. I don't want to do that. I want to have that little pop of like light whiteness coming through. And so I'm going to actually change the opacity on each of the individual images that are clipped into those rectangles. So now you get that glow, that white glow of the rectangle coming through the photo, and it creates this layering effect, this hierarchy, this visual hierarchy in your images that now the details, you can take a look at those, but also the main subject still stands on its own. We're going to take that gradient tool one more time. I added a layer mask to the entire group, and now we're going to just set this gradient to exactly where I want it. And this is, again, to pull my eye to the main subject, but to give opportunity for those the detail panels in the back to really just kind of be in the back. Now, this is a technique that I love, especially on car photos. So we're going to grab a brush. We're going to have a white color. Size it up is pretty far. So I've got it at 4,000 pixels here. Hardness at 0. This is just a normal soft round brush. And we are going to create a fog effect. So I'm simply going to take my brush, change the opacity to 31%, and I'm going to drag a straight line straight across the middle of this poster right behind the car. Now I'm going to take that same brush, size it down by about 1,000, and then drag another line. What we're doing is we're creating these layers of kind of just this fog. So size it down one more time to about 1,000, one more line, and then I'm going to size it down one more time so that right there on the horizon line, there's a pretty nice white highlighted spot. You don't want to go too far. This is each time I'm kind of cutting it in half. But now we've got this great kind of fog effect that's rising up from behind the car. Now, what you'll notice is the gradient is a little bit harsh, or it's a little bit broad at the bottom. So I'm going to go back in with my eraser tool now, and I'm going to size the opacity back up. I'm going to size it back down, and then I'm just going to drag really quickly right across the bottom so that way that fog is isolated to coming from the floor and then going up, as opposed to it just kind of widening out the middle of the poster. And you can see pretty quickly here, we're just about done, but what poster would be complete without some text? And so right here in the middle, we're going to grab just our text tool, just add the word Genesis. Of course, you could drop a lot more text here at the bottom, really kind of sell it as like an advertisement. But I think for the simplest form of this poster, just the word Genesis there. And now we get to make a decision. We can stick here with this one, or we can go just a little bit further. And I want to show you a text treatment that's just as cool as having those panels in the back. So I duplicated that text layer. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I leave that one so that we have kind of like a poster 1 version. And then we're non-destructive with those layers. But poster 2, we've got that same Genesis copy. But now I'm going to move this up to the top where those detail highlight panels were. We're going to go ahead and expand this text up. And make sure that you pick a font that's nice and chunky. Right now, we've got this set to Helvetica New, which is just kind of it's a good general font. I'm going to change it just for the sake of this poster, just to show you. But you could spend a lot of time finding the right font to use. Impact is a decent font. That's just kind of it's just kind of one of those fonts, nice chunky sans serif style font. I'm going to go ahead and line this up, and then I'm going to go up to the type uh, selection, go and we're going to convert this to a shape. And what you'll see is that this now converts this to a shape that has points that we can actually select, we can manipulate. Now, this does remove the ability to change the text. And so what you're going to want to do is make sure that you've got all of your text in the right, everything is spelled correctly. But now we can drag up with our selection tool. We can select these anchor points, and we can do this cool thing where we can just hold down the shift key, grab an anchor point, and then could drag these straight down. Now, you'll have to play with getting the right amount of anchor points, and with the impact font, this doesn't look right. I don't think that was the right decision. I'm going to try to go higher and see. No, that's still not right. I think maybe if I go a little bit lower on this one, and again, this is going to be at your discretion. And so let me try going a little bit higher. I think it's because the way the S is shaped there. When I grab those angles, it doesn't work. So we're going to grab just the bottom of the letters and something like that. Yes. And now you get this kind of just elongated letter shapes. You can still read it. You can tell that says Genesis. So I'm going to do the same thing, add a layer mask to this, add my gradient tool to the layer mask. And now you get this kind of just cool stylized version of this poster. So there you go. Less than 20 minutes. You've got two different basic versions of a car poster that arguably both of them just look really good. You can obviously tweak this in a lot of different ways. You can change the color to really get some good contrast. That blue and the orange. I live in Colorado, so go Broncos. You could go with something a little bit more crazy. The purples, of course, that eyedropper in the paint. So you can grab all those different reds, yellows, oranges. The carbon black looks kind of sick. So if you wanted to go a step further, make this a 2-photo poster, you could do the carbon black and then add like a carbon fiber texture in the bottom with some text behind it. But this is the basis for a really, really well done poster, and it gets you comfortable with a lot of different tools right there in Photoshop. So I hope this has been helpful. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me to design some artwork, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.